lot of Genji play, but not so much Diva in our series today. We'll see if we have Genji in our third and potential final game of the day here at HGC at North America, as Gale Force eSports currently sitting 2 games up over Superstars in the series.
I think the main reason for that is because I feel like if anything is displayed every time I watch that, it's just that Diablo is actually the secret underestimated hero here, because he not only deals with Genji in a 1v1 for longer than any other hero in Heroes of the Storm can probably do that, but in fact deals with Diva later on, and he's just still not afraid. At no point does he, second guess himself. He's just confident, moves up, and he's even willing to, shadow charge anything.
Yeah, you know that Diablo has all of his stacks of Devastating Charge done.
Yeah, he's totally comfortable with just, even if, maybe it's because he had enough souls. If he went down, it just didn't even matter.
He'd be right back.
He's unkillable either way.
Our Gale Force unkillable in this series.
I don't know if unkillable, but it's feeling like Superstars may not have, the tools available, at least not right now. But it's understandable. Superstars is the team that I feel for the most whenever I watch them play. No matter how confident I am that they will be showing up that day, or maybe lack of confidence, I still, every time I watch them perform, I just can know that they're constantly trying to be like, how do we recover from, how do we get better? How do we grow? And they're constantly making that happen, which is why they're always changing, but also part of the reason maybe why they have failed to see direct results. It's, you can appreciate what they're making happen, but you're always just like, when is it going to work? Is really what I'm always looking for. And so far, they do look better now that Stray has rotated out. But again, it's so young that you're like, I can't say no to what you're making happen. Like, it's just too young for this to actually be able to take out a team like Gale Force eSports. It feels like. Granted, I said the same thing about Even in Death, and look at what they did in No Tomorrow. So, I don't know.
That's true. Well, there is one thing that has worked out really well for Superstars in the past, and something that is starting to be better for them, and that's Towers of Doom, which is the next battleground we are going to, although it was picked by Gale Force eSports. We'll see. This may be the best bet, battleground-wise. Oof, say that 3 times fast. For Superstars. You got it? You ready?
No, I would see, I was this poor soul who got forcefully signed up to the only other public tongue twister I think we
Let's
know.
hear it.
Sonya's Seismic Slam increases, or Shattered Ground increases Seismic Slam splash damage. Try and say that just even 2 times fast is about the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Shout out to Dunk Train for being victim with myself a long time ago. When we were players, now we're just being the lame-os. Either way, Gale Force 1 game away again from being able to tame this series. What? I can't call myself a lame-o?
Nope. Only I can.
What do we expect? Is there anything when it comes to, I want to say an Abathur, but I said the same thing before, and both teams don't seem as concentrated into that. At least Superstars isn't.
All right, so hold on. Gale Force does have a strategy that you should expect here, because it's towers. Globals.
Oh, wow.
Are you surprised?
I'm gonna be honest. I gotta throw out my notes. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. No idea that Gale Force would move in that direction.
They did play Abathur Illidan though once, so maybe the worry for Superstars, or the worry of an Abathur, would be more on Superstars' side of the battleground. The fear to give that to Gale Force.
You just maybe ban the Illidan here and then pick up. I don't know. I'm trying to find, like, where do I feel like Superstars would really look the best? Because I feel like in that last game, they very much had the comp to be able to make it happen. It's just things didn't work out too well over there. There goes the Illidan ban. So, like, if they go with the Dahaka pickup, like, very high and maybe try and push, again, more onto Gale Force and specifically Mikey Doll, maybe that would work out a bit more. Because it's pretty apparent, they've gone with 2 different routes in games 1 and 2, and neither has worked out quite yet.
It's obvious that Superstars are scared of Genji and Illidan. And
can't be afraid of both.
No, you can't, because what has happened is they've banned Illidan, and then they have to get Genji. And it is understandable. Gale Force runs both of those heroes extremely well. Fans Genji, nothing to sneeze at. Michael Udall's Illidan will destroy you. So it's a difficult situation, but it almost feels like Superstars, even in having the first pick, which Team C is very strong, is backed into a corner right from the start. Because they have to get Genji, and it may not necessarily be what they're wanting here.
Abathur is going to be removed for Gale Force eSports, only making that, Genji pickup even that much less appealing for Superstars, because traditionally you'd be like, well, then we force them to rid of the Abathur, not be able to deal with this together. But they go with the Dahaka pickup. I like it. You know,
too.
somebody's at least a little bit more focused into Mike. I don't think it's enough. Honestly, I don't. I feel like just Mike might be slightly less comfortable and puts more pressure on everybody else. But this is a group of absolute 5 all-stars. You know, Gale Force eSports, not just one player in the rest of the team, but it's the best thing I feel like Superstars could do to win this game.
So then do Gale Force get Arthas here because Illidan and Dahaka already banned? Maybe an Arthas Genji?
If they fail to do that, then Superstars should look to remove one. It depends on how far they know the depth of Mikey Doll's hero pool goes, right? I believe we've seen Leoric from him in the past as well. Leoric, Arthas, Dahaka are the main 3. And Leoric is by far the least appealing out of all of those on a map like this where you aren't going to get too much value out of his wave clear. So I would like to see them concentrate on that at all costs if Gale Force does not commit to it here.
Put it this way, in HGC Phase 2, 11 games Dahaka, 6 games Arthas, 6 games Illidan, 2 games Leoric, 1 game Genji. So it's a sharp drop-off down to the Leoric and the Genji. But instead, Uther and Tassadar. Man, that's some enabling right there from Gale Force.
So then what does this do for Superstars? On the same note, let's say that their actual thought process is to stab at Michael, then banning is no longer an option. You just can't. With what they've seen prepped on the other side of the table, it is way too well to be able to move into an all-in composition. It would thrive. You just essentially, you either ban out, like you could go in the R, or not the R, excuse me, but like into the Tracer route, but whatever you want to try and take away, and that means Arthas has to be taken as a actual pick, not the front warrior you traditionally have with Dahaka, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah, especially if Superstars went even further into a Vala Ariel type of composition, then you'd have Arthas in the front, slow people down so that Vala can get the damage done, and throw in his own damage as well.
It's just losing that as a ban, resource-wise, is absolutely devastating, and they do neither. So Gale Force is not going to be possibly pushed, like we were suggesting, even farther down the road. But Superstars did take up the Anubarak, just a lot of melee coming out from them. That, I guess, it makes a lot of sense as well, just having the double warrior. We've talked about whether or not they'd be able to move away from that. But they are not the team, historically, where you'd look at and be like, you know what, this is the melee style drafting. If anything, they've been more like, we like our backliners, you know? So it's kind of interesting to see that evolution.
I'm anticipating either a Leeming ban from Gale Force or support here. And then whether or not Superstars, man, want to ban Arthas, something else from that Uther Tass.
Greyman's being hovered. Saw a moment of an Ariel. Stitches and Arthas are both up, and both really important frontliners for Gale Force. I expect they have to go to the Tracer. There it is. So now one of those two to be picked up for Gale Force. Possibly even just both. I mean, right? We have the Force Wall with the slows. I mean, the only thing they're failing to have is like the blow up to make things happen. So maybe like, I don't know, committing to the Leeming is a little bit risky because they don't have that unreliable other backliner with the Tassadar in particular. But it's just, I feel like Gale Force can legitimately do anything they want with this rotation, and it's still going to be pretty difficult for Superstars. Go with the Vala Arthas.
Who do you think that last pick's going to be? Stitches?
I think so. I expect it to be the Stitches.
Final 2 picks for Superstars now. We've got the double warrior. We still need an Iacona hero and likely Yoda.
I feel like we've only got Uther off the table in the world of supports. In this case, I still see Superstars going with the mouth just to be able to deal with like that all the damage on the other side of the table, the consistent supporting that you get between the Tassadar and the Uther. If you aren't going to go double support, then you just go for the Dream to get the silence and maybe be able to get the win into those team fights. Granted, it hasn't thrived in the last 2 games.
Ooh, Malf Tychus.
Tychus has been rising in power in NA. Superstars hasn't been the team to maybe prioritize them over some of the rest. But I like that we see a team willing to pick up and adjust with it, because I feel like it's one of the highest, you know, especially with Odin, damage output backliners that we really have consistently. Granted, that's a huge cooldown and something that a lot of teams can play around.
Tychus will be able to build into some self-survivability in some of his talents. He also gets the 25 armor off of Odin, which will help with potentially hooks if that's what this final pick ends up being. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything that King Caffeine would want more here.
I mean, the fact that it's not a Stitches means the answer is probably, or at least it's like a 50-50.
That makes me think that it's going to be Mike's hero and that Caff's playing Arthas.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay, Gale Force. I wish I could speak into their comms right now, because I want to know, is this actually because you legitimately prioritize Vikings this high? Or is this because you're up 2-0 in the series, you're feeling comfortable, and it's more of like, why not? We think we can get away with Vikings because our 4-man is really scary.
It is.
And so might as well just pick Vikings in the circumstances, you know, because it's entertaining. I don't know. And I'm even more surprised by the fact of who's actually playing it. I just cheated. K1 Pro on Lost Vikings.
What?
K1 Pro on the Lost Vikings, Gilly.
Who's playing Tess? Mike?
I don't know. Yeah? So they're... What?
What? Why?
Why would you make that kind of adjustment? Because Mike in the past was the Vikings player, which is why we're so confused. K1 Pro historically, I don't think once in his entire competitive career, that might be a bold statement, but I've watched a lot of K1 Pro play, and I cannot recall a single Viking game coming out.
There's probably one Rogue One somewhere.
Probably somewhere, because Cloud9 used to get wild whenever they were confident. They would just be like, anybody can play anything whenever we get bored. But since then, they, you know, things have toned down, not as wild. And to see that, I don't know. It's just, now I'm feeling like it's just screaming confidence.
Well, let's do this thing. Let's do the thing. Let's see K1 Pro play Lost Vikings. Game number 3 between Gale Force and Superstars.
Let's do this thing. Let's, in fact, do the thing. Gilly, what thing are we doing?
Game number 3. We're casting. Hi.
Hello. Was that words? It's just...
Hi. It was kind of like a hello and hi all at once. There it is in all its glory. K1 Pro, the Lost Vikings.
Superstars.
Everything here seems a bit more as we would expect.
Yeah, it's making a bit more sense on the other side of things.
Although
I mean,
Yoda is not using, in fact, the best Tychus skin of all time, so gonna have to knock off some style points there as we get into Game 3.
My heart's a bit torn here. Like, K1 Pro, no matter what roster, even when like B-Step, Denial, no matter how high or low maybe King Caffeine and K1 Pro have existed side by side, I have had nothing but positive things to say about K1 Pro's play. He stands out above almost all else in North America for me. And so that makes me feel like going over to Vikings, I can't tell if I'm just going to watch the most beautiful Vikings we've ever seen. We're talking like, you know, might as well be a StarCraft 2 level pro, or is this going to be one of those ones where it's like, you know, I wish K1 Pro was on a little bit higher impact of a hero.
Well, if he were not on the Vikings here, he would have been on Tassadar, which, granted, you can have the impact of having your shields at the right time, being able to get some Psystorm kills, being able to shield King Caffeine here. There we go. Mike's got it, though. And, of course, the Force Walls. We've seen a lot of that. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic.
As am I. So far, we see it's just a Baylog split, keeping him alone up through the mid. Bottom's not doing too hot, though. Superstars managed to find themselves not only first blood, that's the second initiation they've had in that bottom lane, where they have almost got themselves a kill. And so Gale Force may need to be second-guessing how they're playing out this early stage.
Look at this!
That's oh, man, if they wanted to commit, that could have been a kill.
K1 Pro already making his plays. But yeah, things are not going the best for the strong 4-man of Gale Force eSports in the bot. That's now the second kill Superstars making things work despite not having the Vikings, having to deal with those Vikings, and that comes down to having the mobility of both Genji and Dahaka. They'll take out Baylog in the mid too. Eric is shifting over, checking out if he could steal away, but Airho is heading over. Now Hosty is going to apply the pressure to K1 Pro's Olaf here and eventually takes it out. Arthas is coming up to the top now, so Genji won't be able to get that for free, but Dahaka does get the top right.
Hosty. Howling Blast, I don't know if it's been used quite yet, but he's going to be on full retreat. We see K1 Pro manage to get themselves that channel. So they've got 4 shots. Bottom altar still stands, though. Gale Force ideally wants to just delay typically whenever you have the Vikings and abuse the fact that you have Soak in all 3 of the lanes. We'll see what they decide because things have not been going to plan.
Ooh, perfect vault in time because there were roots underneath that dragon. That would not have been a great place for Fan to be, but he's not out of the woods yet. Hosty and Stray hanging out, throwing out the damage. The zoning starting to come in. Eric's going to shoot a slingshot at Iaconin to delay once.
He's such like a, I mean, it's almost...
Menace. Dennis the Menace.
Very much, you know, like just even look at how he runs around. He's got the cute little cloud behind him scooting on in and just throws the slingshot on out. Here's your little pebble. And you know, even if he dies, he's just like mission accomplished. K1 Pro doing the thing necessary there and getting the stall out between their 4-man, but it's costing them a lot. I don't want to go as far as to say is too much because this is Vikings play like unlike any other composition or characters in the game, but it's definitely not as dominant as you would expect for Gale Force.
Well, finally Gale Force were able to at least get a couple of kills, and they did successfully delay the altar in the bottom. So they're able to get that. They had Vikings hanging out in the lanes. They're starting to eke ahead in experience once again in the 3rd game in a row over Superstars pre-10. Tassadar has picked up Kala's Light this time, knowing that there's going to be a lot of damage, a lot of burst, especially from Genji to maybe be able to burst down those plasma shields. So in that instance, just being able to get the armor off of that when it does go down to give even further sustainability, especially for Fan being able to keep Fan up as the prominent damage dealer for the team. Michael Udall is going to come out of Dimensional Shift to Dahaka in his face. With King Caffeine there, he'll be able to stay safe.
Really nice roots there from Iaconin trying to set the team up for that kill. They should manage to be able to get this objective, but again, like, just all Gale Force is doing is looking to be annoying because it's almost Abathur-esque. They know that they're winning the Soak game in the long run. Dahaka is not at a point in time where he's gotten enough out of his level 1 to be the race car and get Soak into both lanes without missing anything, especially with Baylog's convenient AoE.
That Howling Blast was gigantic, hitting both Yoda and Saray, forcing the disengagement from Superstars, who have to do the best they can with rotations and make every single rotation to the bottom lane count. That's what Gale Force does with this 4-man, and their ability to stay together as long as the Vikings are alive means as long as K1 Pro is not losing Vikings to either Dahaka or Hosty, it forces Superstars to rotate and to try to help. And that's where Gale Force can hope to try to get ahead by taking out some minions, pushing the lanes, making Superstars miss that crucial soak going into level 10.
Play again or longboat raid. Not what you expect, I want what you want here. Wait a minute. Fan got dragged. The healing coming out from Akaphase, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. There's the vault. Tassadar shield, not even necessary, and he makes it out. I'm telling you, I want the longboat raid. I feel like I just need me some beautiful music and a bunch of Vikings floating around shooting cannons everywhere.
All right, but only if you promise to dance whenever the longboat raid music goes off.
Deal, but that is only because I know everybody at home can't see me, and little do they know, I walk around as much as I possibly can while this game is actually happening.
Yeah, you do. Sometimes I look up and you're like on the other side of the desk. Well, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you guys, I got a little wild. If they gave me, when that one day that we got the free mics, you know, the world was mine. I could do anything I wanted. I was just going ahead getting laps while we were casting. Typically, now sadly I'm stuck to this cord, so gotta hang closer to the desk.
Should put some skates on.
I mean,
be able to just skate around like a Lucio.
I'll be Lucio, you know, but he can hold wall rides for like ever, and that is something I just don't feel like I can provide. We got the play again, standard, but you know, I can ask for a little bit more. You know, if we're gonna get weird, if every game Gale Force eSports is confident enough that when they go up 2-0, they're gonna bust out the Trondas, they're gonna bust out the Lost Vikings, I want it to get real weird with it. You know what I mean? Like, make an argument as to why you're going to go in that direction. But this one's going better in the Toronto game versus Even and Death so far, managing to hold their own.
No Force Wall this game either. Will be Archon for the increased damage for Michael Udall. Gives him some escape as well, since it does reset the cooldown of Dimensional Shift. Superstars now have heroic abilities too. Questioning. Nope, never mind. Dragon Blade, still the norm for Genji.
Doggo committed down to the bottom half of the map, and they're unable to get a kill for themselves. So now that means the Vikings got a little bit of an experience advantage through the soak. They're even getting the camp up on top. Fan rooted out. Dragon Blade, Twilight Dream, and he is already down. Now this is Superstars winning a fight. Cost them 3 heroics. How many we see on the other side? Only 2 were popped. We got Archon and Army of the Dead. Urho's here. Drag does not land. Chase is going to be real. Feels bad when you miss that. Yeah,
that's really frustrating. It did also give Gale Force time to use both Eric as well as use the 2 Vikings up in the top to be able to get the. I was very scared that they were going to lose that Viking. These sappers up in top. What's up?
How have we had 2 times in one day that weird like backdoor, I'm just going to be in a crazy position and try and get the back, and not a single one has gotten caught throughout all of today. Odin down.
Charge, Roots underneath, Iacona and Srey putting in the work. Divine Shield has to be used, Zaka face. Arrow trying to make sure that he can continue the body blocks even after that 3 seconds of invulnerability. Stops, hits a drag as well, and Srey quick to burrow charge in and help out. Iacona's there too, as well as the damage from Yoda, which does allow the team to start to win the fight. The problem is, this whole time, altars have been up. This is playing into Gale Force eSports' hands.
They're just sitting there, just tapping their fingers together, maniacally laughing right now, because that was a colossal bait, and everything went to plan. The fact that they only lose 1 member, did not commit many resources, only, what, Archon, and we didn't even get Army of the Dead strafe. Like, it was just very well thought out here for Gale Force eSports, and they got 8 more shots. That was the exact circumstance when we were talking about the teams that are willing to bait a death for an objective or a gain elsewhere on the map, and very few are willing to do so. That's probably one of, I'm going to say, less than 10 cases I've seen in my entire life in competitive heroes. Very well done.
Yeah, it was extremely well done for Gale Force eSports, knowing that, again, they have a really strong 4-man. As long as they are calculated about it, if they can force Superstars to take the bait, it just seems like they have much better of a sense of the whole picture of what's going on for them, and that's put them at a 36/20 so far in core health. They also have been maintaining an experience advantage, although Superstars did get a couple of the Vikings.
Look at him. Doing work in the mid, up and on top. Was this pressure up on bottom, though? Superstars are going to commit. They're just trying to force so hard. They got the cocoon. Dimensional shifts used. Odin down. Can they get the pick out of the cocoon? They're going to instant dream? Not even.
The Roots underneath. There's the Divine Shield. Immediate strafe as well from Fan as he comes out of that. Airho's the one who has been caught now, and there's a burrow.
They can win this
Superstars
fight.
are totally fine with getting back into this fight. They still have the Odin and they still have Dragon Blade, which has been dropped. Twilight Dream as well as Hosty looks to try to take out some of the members of Gale Force eSports. The poke from Yoda has been really good so far, but all of Gale Force get back into the safety of their bell tower. And again, the whole time, the Vikings.
Oh, at least one, caught out there. Play again is not going to be available for 15 seconds. The double altar up, though, for Gale Force. At least the bell towers are 50-50 for Superstars. The fact that it is 4-4. Mike Udall ends up getting the full channel thanks to the nice CC and peel from the rest of the members of Gale Force eSports. K1 Pro found himself 4 more shots. Superstars is winning the battles, but they're losing the war over and over again just because of those Vikings and the annoying pressure K1 Pro has been able to apply.
Superstars keep looking at Gale Force eSports and the fact that GFE are fighting this 4v5, and yes, they're winning it, but the problem is that they're at really inopportune times. The nice thing, though, is if they're able to win this, if they're able to start getting some picks, the respawn timers for Gale Force are going to get longer and longer, and that might be a time where they can finally start converting some bell towers over, starting to push back the Vikings as best they can. getting some sappers, maybe threatening a boss as well, and trying to catch back up, but they're running out of time.
Fan getting a little aggro there with that Volt. They're going to move up here towards the bottom fort. Will they be able to get this bell tower? Looks like not, at least with this minion wave. But with the 16, and Olaf getting caught out there. At least these are silver linings. That's still experience going over to Superstars. Now they're going to force Odin's down. There we go, double impale. That's Fan taking a lot of damage, but Hostie's too low to get value out of the Dragon Blade, and actually Akaface just drops the Divine Shield, hits the Hammer of Justice, and completely sets up a kill and gets the punishment there onto Hostie.
And that time there was no Dahaka. Dahaka felt like he had to keep contending with the Vikings, who have started to push in that top bell tower quite a lot. So in that instance, it was a 4v4, and you can see why Vala with the Tassadar, having Uther behind it, and then Arthas, a big damage-dealing warrior, are able to do so well, despite the fact that they are fighting a lot of these fights 4v versus 5. They're able to take out Hostie on that Genji. Now Dragon Blade is down for a really crucial moment. Even Odin is too, because we've got 3 altars activating in Superstars. Cannot lose them all.
They lose them all, they will in fact lose the game, but it is reliable at this stage of the game to not lose all 3. They should be able to make sure that they secure themselves at least one of them.
This is about to be annoying.
It's the top right, so at least Superstars has managed to not lose the game yet. They can buy time to get to that 16 Talenter, then maybe they can turn around this game, but it's 32-8 in those shots, and now K1 Pro starting the channel to send 4 more their way. They get the interrupt.
Dahaka's going to stalk in. He's stalking way over to the sides, but is Stray too low to recover? Yes, he is. He goes down just as Airho gets there, and Hostie will fall as well. Fan clear on the front line of Gale Force eSports, basically nearly 1v3ing as he pushes back the members of Superstars. Dahaka will go down. 3 kills for Gale Force eSports, and with these sappers, they can look to convert several bell towers. That bottom one is really low.
Actually didn't convert.
Oh no, they're just going to get that, head up to the boss, and win the game.
The only way this game lasts if the Superstar can somehow make the boss fight of game number 1 happen here at this Towers of Doom boss. There is no Li Ming, and I don't think that Genji's going to be able to make it in time. Twilight Dream dropped, Gale Force gets the boss, and that is GG. Gale Force eSports with a very dominant series throughout all games.
Superstars were only able to get 2 altars in that game. The Vikings, a constant sore point for the members of Superstars, having to deal with that, having to split their focus, and Gale Force did make them split their focus a lot at crucial moments, showing again how Gale Force approaches the game, trying to make sure that they have the big picture in mind always and what they can do constantly to always be working toward that big picture goal.
Yeah, it's really awesome to be able to see that not only and not so much that that's their angle and what they're doing, but it feels like you can actually watch it live in the game. I pointed it out. You really can see when their decision making. It's like they move up and they're like, well, is this exactly what we predicted? Is this what are we getting as much as we thought that we were able to? And the minute that they answer that box is checked, as long as there is no major, this is a really bad idea or this is a really good, then they go, well, what's the next thing on the list? Just setting essentially a priority list where they go mid-fort, be like, once that's done, can we get the top fort? Then it's going to be that. If that wasn't a fort, then it's just like, well, then can we get any camps? What else can we be doing? And that's why they had such dominant games throughout today.
Now, there is still a world where even though Gale Force were able to win that series 3-0, they can't claim the top seed at the Western Clash, and that is because Team Freedom were able to beat them in their head-to-head series. But it just comes down to, again, Tempo Storm versus Team Freedom tomorrow and how that match plays out. It's going to be such a good match.
Pretty much everything hinges on that series specifically.
Yes.
Not only do we figure out who is going, then we figure out in what order everybody's going. But until then, Gale Force is like, hey, you could be anywhere. If things go to plan, and, again, outside that one case where we have it, Gale Force should be the top representative, right? They should be. I don't know why I asked that.
Yeah, that's going to make me have to consult this list. But I think if Freedom wins, actually, as long as they beat Tempo,
that makes sense because they won the head.
Because they won the head-to-head.
They won the head-to-head, and they would be ties in the series. That makes the most sense. So then Freedom would actually be the #1, and then Gale Force #2. It's just so wild, the fact that it's even that close overall between the teams. Again, Freedom was a team that we kind of counted out, and it was like, wow, brand spanking new, considering that was only 1 player difference between the two, and they play like an entirely different team, not just like because Cure's good, but he's not like that good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's an amazing player, but not the sole reason Freedom is taking off. They have really found themselves.
Yeah, all of the members. Zugrug, he's been playing phenomenally. We got to see Collusion's growth, which was really awesome throughout Phase 1, evolving into a support player from Warrior. And then Nasmus and Dansky, they were like Cure at the beginning of Phase 1, where we hadn't really heard of them at all. And like, who are these guys that suddenly qualified for HGC nonetheless? But they have made names for themselves too. Nasmus's Diva, ooh, watch out for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they really kind of made Diva questionably meta, you know, in the North American scene single-handedly. It really felt like just between the play and what they made happen. But it looks like we got ourselves an interview here.
Yes, we do. King Caffeine. What's up? That jersey looks good on you. Is this the first winner's interview we've had with you?
Yeah, it is. I didn't have any of my gear yet, but I got it all now, though. So here I am.
Nice. Looking good. Looking good. How are you guys feeling after that win?
Yeah, we're feeling pretty good. We had a good idea that we'd win this series, but just to do it in a clean 3-0, you know, that makes us feel good.
Well, you guys now, you were qualified before, but now you're definitely qualified for the Western Clash. You're overqualified, you might say. So how are you guys feeling about the international competition? How do you guys think that you'll be able to do versus, we've got ANZ there, Latin America, but of course, Europe as well?
It's been a while for me personally since I've been to an international event, especially playing against any of the EU teams. So I'm not really sure what to expect, but you know, we're going to put all our effort in. We're going to practice really hard, possibly even get a boot camp for this. So we're going to be well-oiled machine, you know, ready to come into Worlds and hopefully leave our mark.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
For me, I want to ask mainly for CAF. You are obviously on the front line. You set up a lot of major setups for your team. You initiate a lot of them. And because you weren't the shot caller directly, I was just wondering how it feels from your angle. We've heard everybody else. The unit, it seems to be working very well. Gale Force eSports obviously performing at the top form. But for you, did it automatically click when you came back, like working with Fan once again, or has it been like a slow grind that you guys have been working on?
Yeah, I would say it definitely didn't automatically click. You know, we had like a little rough start in the beginning, trying to get everyone on the same page. But, you know, now I feel like we're really strong. Our synergy is really good. I would say particularly between me and Michael on the front line. We're both really communicative with each other. And, yeah, I'd say our synergy is great right now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. I was just wondering, you know, how that felt, because we've heard so many positive things from you guys overall, but it's always nice to hear, like, you know, you individually, the guy actually hitting the skill shot, throwing that stuff out, you know, your angle on it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, Kaf, we now know which European teams, as of today, are going to be at the Western Clash. We've got Fnatic, who qualified earlier, and then Expert and Team Liquid today. Any of those you really looking forward to being able to play against?
Yeah, you know, actually all of them, because it's like I said, it's been a while since I played against EU, and we have a pretty good record against EU. So, you know, I'm ready. I like playing against the Liquid boys because they're the only team that I've played on the stage before. So it's going to be nice to kind of get a rematch a year later. So, yeah, that's a team I'm probably looking forward to.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you guys at the Western Clash, and I'll let you give some shout-outs before you guys go celebrate.
Yeah, for sure. Shout-outs to my org, Gale Force eSports. Shout-outs to MetaThreads, NVIDIA, Gunner Optics, and, of course, Twitch for sponsoring us.
Nicely. Well done. Thank you, Kaf. Good luck again.
Cheers.
Gale Force and Freedom are qualified. Tomorrow, we find out if it's Tempo Storm or if we'll have a tiebreaker between Tempo and Roll20 for that final spot. Still waiting on seeding. We also get to see Even in Death versus Naventic tomorrow. Naventic's last chance to get a victory in Part 1 of Phase 2.
And now where Even in Death has looked better than ever. The fact that they got the upset last week, so now it's just kind of like, who even knows what's going to be happening there? You know, it's not like, well, does Naventic go back to low form? You're like, does Even in Death now suddenly make a major climb? And that would be the greatest point to, like, be able to make that argument that they are on the upside, is they just make Naventic, you know, at least look semi-dominant play from them.
You know, Dread, even though I'm really excited for the Western and the Eastern Clash, it feels a little bit bittersweet that it's kind of like saying goodbye to some of our teams after seeing the improvements that they've made, like Even in Death. It's just insane how much they've grown as a team throughout Part 1.
And it's one of those, you know, where it's like, you understand why you have to let it go, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
It's like the first goldfish you ever had. You know what I mean? You're sitting there, you got the flusher finger on it, and you're just questioning. Your mom's like, you just got to let it go. And you're like, but not Goldie. Oh, wait, who nicknames are Goldfish Goldie?
Mine was Cleo.
Was it? I actually had a name for mine. I think it was Charlie Brown. I think that was it. Yeah. Actually, Charlie Brown dying was a devastating moment in my entire life. You see, you mock it, but my brother went to go feed him,
I'm not mocking
and he
it.
gave him a lot of
That's
food.
so sad.
Yeah, he gave him a lot of food, and then he ate too much food, and then he died.
Just because Charlie Brown already is picked on a lot.
Yeah.
But poor Charlie Brown. Okay, let's check out the standings.
Like my hamster.
For the last time today.
It's been a lot of dead bets today. My goodness, I need to change my tone. When looking at the standings, because Gilly is in fact broken, and Gale Force eSports now is at the very top there, but as you can see, they luckily have one game advantage over teams like Team Freedom, and we're looking forward to the future. We've talked over and over again about all the hype behind them, and for the rest of the standing, it's just a middle of the pack, and then the gap that we see. Superstars, Even in Death, and Team Naventic still struggling overall, but we can see there is very much a clear winner even out of the bottom of North America.
Yeah, there is a lot of promise that we've been able to see from Superstars continuing to adapt in things. Team Naventic doing the same as well, but seeming to be happy, settling on having Tomster as the support. And then Even in Death, just putting in the grind, putting in the games, starting to wow a lot of the other teams, and now wowing us when they were able to take out No Tomorrow. Tomorrow, we find out the conclusion. Does Team Freedom take the top seed in the North American standings? That would be insane.
Like never happened in North America almost before. I might be crazy on that. Like we've seen Roll20 is like the closest out of like, I want to use the phrase no names, but obviously I don't mean that, but like the least known group of players to do not only well, but like legitimately qualifying, but to go all the way up to seed #1 is like as far back as like Murloc, Geniuses maybe, but even then that's unfair because they played together for a long while and struggled very much before that point.
Yeah, and just the fact that Freedom was almost in the Crucible. One series separated them from being in the Crucible last phase. And then to potentially end up the top in the standings of North America just shows you how much work those guys have been putting in. Let's take a look at tomorrow. The schedule for HGC in Europe as well as North America. Team Good Guys versus the Zealots, similar to Team Naventic versus Even in Death, sort of the on the lower end, although Zealots did get the upset over Team Liquid last week. And then Playing Ducks versus Fnatic. Fnatic just hoping that they can have that clean sweep 7-0. They'd be the only team in Europe and North America to get that. I think MVP Black's still on their way of being able to do that in Korea too. In North America, Naventic versus Even in Death. And we close with Freedom versus Tempo Storm. What a series to end part 1 for NA.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Looking forward to tomorrow's schedule, even, you know, for Fnatic and seeing what happens in the European scene, because I believe even looking at phase #1, we didn't have a single team between NA and EU go completely, you know, a 7-0 clean sweep. So it's just going to be exciting to be able to be like, you know, we've had that team that got to the point not only after claiming a world championship, but then they afterwards when they showed this, just like we're still that good, right? Like we've had a lot of teams win a world championship and just a month later is all it takes before they're struggling against the best of their region, let alone some of the best of the world. And like only teams like MVP Black have been like, not only did we win a worlds, but it's like we're going home and nobody's going to touch us for at least you know, a couple months.
Yeah, Fnatic has been amazing.
Just unstoppable.
Not only in that, the way they come in and have all this confidence, but even the way that they've been drafting and playing.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else is just trying to figure out, how do we beat them? What do we do versus them? And that's a question that several of our NA teams will be trying to figure out as they get ready for the Western Clash. That closes things out for tonight here at HGC North America. We will see you tomorrow.